Welcome back. It's 8:09. When it comes to lawmaking on the national and state levels, often the debates and the decisions are made indoors behind closed doors in caucus meetings. And that way, a group of lawmakers can combine as one united force to push their ideas forward. But should those closed caucus meetings be opened to the public? We are discussing that this morning. We have State Representative Carl Wimmer, Republican, also State Senator Scott Jenkins, a Republican, also the Senate Majority Leader, and State Representative Brian King, a Democrat here. And this may not be a Democratic-Republican issue. This may be more of a Senate representative issue, right? Because, Scott, you're all about the caucus. Why?
I am. Well, as a majority leader, my job is to bring consensus to my body. And when you've got 22 people, it's hard to do. And sometimes we speak very frankly to each other. And in a closed caucus, it's easy to do, and the conversation flows much more freely.
But, Brian, do you believe that the public should be privy to some of those conversations?
Absolutely. When you're talking about the public's business, it should be done openly, and it should be done with an opportunity for them to provide input. One of the things that we have in the House Democratic Caucus is an open caucus at all times. And the thing that concerns me about the Senate Republican and the House Republican caucuses being closed at times is that there is enough of a group of lawmakers in those two bodies to, if they come to a consensus, actually pass a law without any input from the Democrats.
All right, Carl, before I get to you for just one moment, you said earlier that there have been closed meetings with the Democrats. Is that true, Brian? Have you had closed-door meetings?
There was one occasion where a Republican lawmaker came and asked to give a presentation on his bill, and one of our caucus members said, could we ask him to leave when we discuss it? But we have never excluded the public at large from our caucus meeting, and we won't do that.
All right, so are there times, Carl, where maybe it is appropriate to have a caucus, and then maybe it's more appropriate to open it up to everybody?
For me, there's a very distinct dividing line. If you're dealing with something that is distinctly about the party, or something that is extremely sensitive, that quite frankly is not for public consumption yet, that is a time for a closed caucus. When you're dealing with something that is policy or has to do with the public at large, or the direction of the state, I believe it should be open.
Can you give us a good example of an idea of when a caucus, a closed-door meeting would be better?
If you're talking about the Republicans or the Democrats are talking about their internal elections, leadership elections. Okay. They're talking about those types of things. Those obviously need to be closed. If you're talking about legislation moving forward, if you're talking about redistricting, such as the case, I recused myself from the closed caucuses. I'm running for Congress, and I didn't want the image of impropriety at all, and so I left the closed caucuses.
All right, so Scott, I mean, with the redistricting, we had a few little kinks in the redistricting process, and there were some closed-door meetings with that.
Absolutely were. In fact, I kind of chuckle here a little, because it wasn't until the Republican House caucus went to closed-door meetings that they were able to get over their divisiveness and issues and come out with a map that they agreed on.
A map that split some houses, but we won't go there. That's another day, another dollar. How about that? So you see some of these meetings, and that there's results in the caucus. So does that kind of convince you either way that maybe we should stick with the plan, or would you like to see it changed, the policy changed?
Well, I think that there are definitely times when you need to have more private meetings to bridge gaps between people. But I think you can do that outside of the caucus setting, and I think that will happen in small groups. When you're meeting together as a caucus, however, I think the public is entitled to know what's going on.
All right, well, our conversation absolutely open to the public right now. Feel free to weigh in on this if you'd like to go to our Facebook page. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. A great discussion. We appreciate it.